Okay, so I'm on a bit of a roll. I'm in the spirit of being vulnerable, brave, tracking the journey of trying to really reach the people that I'm desperate to reach, which are senior leaders within the chemicals and allied industries, what I call that. So people that work in senior leadership roles within pharmaceutical, food, supply chain, oil, energy, really quite traditional businesses that actually touch every part of humanity. Yet what I observe as someone that still works within the sector is quite a lot of fear, quite a lot of fixed mindset, quite a lot of paralysis. People know a lot more about what's going on regarding systems, sustainability, climate, etc., but they're just not speaking up. And what I'm looking to do is really offer a service to allow people to think for themselves as themselves in a brave yet safe environment. And then hopefully that will allow them to show up more fully in their humanity and therefore take the decisions that they, as a whole human being, that maybe they're not taking today. So that's just one iteration of what I think I'm trying to bring to the world. But in the meantime, I want to share something with you. I had a track created for me by another coach called Peter Griffiths, one half of the Mind Takeaway, and I'm going to share that with you because this is a track that was created for me by him about 6 months ago. And I'm big into my dance music. I love trance, house, and I love festivals, but I've not really been bringing the whole of me. And I'm hoping that by sharing this track, it's a motivator for me to use this music a bit more in all of what I do. So I hope you like it. I hope it doesn't detract too much in the background. But what I'll look to do, the main reason for this message actually, was to take you through some of my key takeaways from the new Ideas Soiree, an incredible new intervention, new product, I guess, as part of the coach's marketing journey and part of the Better, Braver, Bolder community. But I'll come to that in a second. I'll turn off the music, but for now, enjoy this track. I quite like it. I've named this track Kaleidoscope. The reason being, it's uplifting. I got this summer vibe, this real desire to bring people together in community, across sector, across function, to really celebrate our humanity, to celebrate our diversity, to really embrace the difference of perspective, of cultural differences. That's really what this tune is meant to embody. And it's also meant to embody the work I want to do, which is really embodying healing, connection, understanding across sector and across function. So anyway, going off tangent a little bit, but wait for the drop. Anyway, I'll turn it off for now. And let me get back to sharing with you the new Ideas Soiree, which I was very grateful to be the explorer, the person sharing my ideas and my visions for what Hexo change will become. And I'll talk more about that on other occasions. But let me just switch cameras. I'm enjoying switching this camera thing. So let me take you to some of the major takeaways that the incredible humans, the other 6 people as part of the Better Braver community, what did they help me with last Thursday? First of all, one of the big realizations for me was that 3 of the test clients that I'm currently working with, they have all got to know me through me keynote speaking or through having conversations with me via referral. And Simon and others really pointed to the fact that people need to experience me. People need to experience Gary. And I've never thought about it that way before. Another comment that was shared was, if only they could see what Gary offers, they would want it. So I've really, despite being very much focused on change being an inside job, someone that's very much tries to role model inside out awareness, I've not been showing up fully as me. I've not been communicating the value that I can bring crystal clearly. And that's why I'm so grateful to be part of the Better Braver community. One of the other questions that came up, I believe it's Francis sharing, how much time do you have to invest in bringing your vision to life? And I've got around 15 hours per week. And one of the other things I referenced was how I really want to bring the full whole version of Gary, both into my day job within the chemicals industry, but also as part of Hexo Change, which is basically the human exponential organization. And one of the other ideas that came out of this was a generative executive mastermind. What would it look like for me to hold space for people to experience Gary and for me to use my systemic awareness, my own personal journey through adolescent bullying, self-harm, mini burnout episodes, and how do I bring all of that in a really healthy, connected way and invite people to explore their inner landscape so that they can show up more fully within their relevant contexts. Other things that I took away were things around my content being a little bit inaccessible. I do a lot of content. I do a lot of live streams. I put out a lot of media. But to what end? It's very noisy. It's not very clear. It's certainly not targeting the niche. Another wonderful exploration and question, I think this was from Kieran, and thank you all for your contributions, was what questions was Gary asking himself age 39? I'm really sitting in that still, really marinating in those great questions. Gary may be communicating in an alien language, and I know that is so true, and I appreciate our Better Braver colleagues for sharing that. Maybe you're watching this video now, if you're investing the time, going, yeah, actually, am I communicating in a assumptive language or a language as to where I am now 7 years on in my journey, yet the people I'm trying to reach are earlier in those 5 stages. Maybe they're unaware or only partially aware that they may even need my services. The other thing I had then was this wonderful idea of, a YouTube or podcast examining those initial questions. What led Gary 6 years ago to start to even get curious about showing up as a whole human being? What are the early stages of my own journey that led me to now, 6-7 years later, be able to really join the dots of global south, global north, systemic oppression, inequity, and the link to the industry of which I'm part. Now, I can't rush people to that level of awareness, but what I can do is put out the breadcrumbs for people to really join those dots. And I've not been doing that. I've been too shouty. I've just been throwing too much stuff out. So I just want to thank you all again. Just like Better, Braver, Bolder community, you are amazing. I knew why I joined you 6 months ago, and I know why I'm back. Anyway, back to some of the other areas that I wanted to share with you. Other comments made were that Gary shares his power and passion, his impact. And I believe this was Craig shared a wonderful comment around competitive advantage of being more human. It's just a really brilliant comment that, I talk so much about and I role model so much. And I've got so much evidence as to the value of being more human in the workplace, but I'm just not communicating in a way that's accessible. So just fascinating times for me to be in the community. Other areas, it seems like Gary is creating a movement, and that the delicacy of which he holds the space is one of the really important points. Just a delicacy, what a beautiful word. I'm coming across as this blunt tool at the moment, to be honest, with love and care and absolute intention to make a difference in the world. But the energy that's coming out clearly isn't matching the intention. Oh, the energy coming out isn't matching the intention. I'm going to write that down. Bear with me. This stuff happens live, people. Energy matching intention. There's a disconnect, and I believe it's a lot to do with communication. Finally, some other really wonderful comments were around, I still need to talk to the profit motive. I need to talk to the BS that is taking place within my industry, not from a place of judgment, not that it's anybody's fault. Just, is there a better way? How can I, with the support of this journey, really accelerate the level of awareness for people to, in their own terms, within their own timeline? There are ways that people can really understand what I now understand much more quickly than the 7 years it took me. But there needs to be different, almost like different accelerators, like different paths that people can walk depending on their readiness. I love the point about know, like, and trust. I would like to find people like us who want to do X. I love these reflections that came out of the soiree. Also, I really appreciate, I think it was Ellie that picked up on this in my expression. Gary clearly not the hero in this. He's the conduit, and that is so true. None of this is about me. Like none of this is, of course, I want to make a living out of it, but because I want to blend Hexo as a side business in conjunction with me working in corporate, those things work together for me. They're not separate, they're not disparate topics. And that then linked to another great question that Francis was asking, which is, how many people is Gary looking to serve? And for me, I'm looking to serve, I would say, 5 senior leaders across sector, across function at any one time on a one-to-one basis, whilst doing the same work within my own corporation. Now that may expand. This will definitely include some element of group work in the future, but certainly in the short term, I'm really looking to build social proof, looking to build credibility, build the community in the early stages. And this has given me another idea in that I started this process about 1.5 years ago, where I reached out to over 2,000 contacts within pharma, food, industrial, big energy, and I've had 10 really close contacts, really good relationships built over the last 6 months. But I haven't gone to any of them to ask if they would be test clients. What have I been doing? I've had something sitting in my hand. So now I can go to each of those 10 people following these reflections, say, hey, would you be open to experiencing what I'm offering for 3 hours? And if you could give me a testimonial at the end of it, which is how I've been approaching it so far. So to get social proof from within the sector that I want to serve, that's also been a gap. Another idea through these reflections. Thanks, reflections. So you can come and do this work. That invitation to my sector, to the senior leaders, this isn't just down to Greenpeace. It's not just down to those working in sustainability. It really is for all of us to lean in and really do the inner work that we can then make worldly change on the outside. Then finally, this is not the only language to describe what profit and value means. There's a lot of conversations around the well-being economy, moving from a GDP metric through to actually what does it look like to measure literally, the impact on the planet, the impact on community, the number of smiles that happen within a workplace during a week, rather than just how much money we're making. Money being an outcome of doing great work rather than the means, rather than being the end in and of itself. If you've watched this, I'm really grateful. If you haven't, no problem. But for me personally, it's just been a great exercise to reflect, and I hope there's some value within the community of these reflections. And it'll also be part of my Gary's Brave Vulnerable playlist as part of the Coach's Marketing Journey, as part of the Better, Braver, Bolder community. I'm now going to flick back to my other camera. Another thing I'm practicing with. I'm feeling so energetically alive right now because I've just got 2 new ideas just by doing these reflections. That just tells me something as well. Much love, everyone. Speak soon.